everyone, welcome or welcome back. If you're new here, my name is Nina, and here at this channel we talk all about mental health, personal development, and understanding our own psychology. So if you're not already a subscriber, please go ahead and become one. We definitely want you to stay connected. And today I'm going to be answering a question that got sent in this morning by a subscriber, and I think it's a great question and a question that a lot of us really have right now. So I'm going to kind of summarize the email, and then I'm going to segue into today's topic, which I think will really answer that question. So to provide some context, the email was from a woman who was really trying to wrap her head around how it was possible for her parents to hold the point of view that they do on this particular issue. Now, historically, they've had a lot of differences in opinions politically and on kind of hot button issues, but on this particular issue, she just felt that their view was really unfounded and there was no evidence to support it. So they were watching the news together that evening, and she was happy because she thought the news program that they were watching was really providing a lot of support for her point of view. So she was hopeful that they would really change their mind once they really listened to this information. She was very shocked and disappointed to find out that afterwards, if anything, they had really strengthened the opinion that they already had. It was almost like they had watched a different news program completely because they got something very different out of watching it. So she was just very frustrated and confused, and her question really was, why is it so difficult for people to change their minds, and how is it possible that people can believe something when there's really evidence to the contrary? Now, firstly, do not worry, this video has absolutely nothing to do with politics. It's about a phenomenon called confirmation bias, which I think plays a huge role when we are really unable to adapt our beliefs, even when we are presented with credible information. Now, this is a topic that I did make a video about a few months back. I will go ahead and link that down in the description box below if you want a quick overview, but today I wanted to get a lot deeper into the topic. I wanted to talk about why we tend to have this bias in the first place, how it serves us in some way or seemingly serves us, and the three major ways that it can influence our thoughts, behaviors, and opinions. So let's go ahead and start by really defining what confirmation bias is, just in case you're not familiar with the term. So according to the American Psychological Association, or APA, confirmation bias is the tendency to look for information that supports rather than rejects one's preconceptions, typically by interpreting evidence to confirm existing beliefs while rejecting or ignoring any conflicting data. So really that's just a fancy way of saying that it is a flaw in our thinking, or it's a cognitive bias that really leads us to favor any information that supports whatever it is we already believe. So it's a way for us to really protect in some way our belief systems and our opinions, and it affects our lives and our judgment way more than we could possibly imagine. It skews our perception of reality, our thoughts, and our decisions. It leads us to draw inaccurate conclusions, to hold on to questionable beliefs, and can keep us from growing intellectually and from being objective. So it's really not difficult to see how this can be incredibly problematic in our life. But if that's the case, why is it so easy for us to fall prey to confirmation bias? Well, there are many reasons, but I wanted to talk about the top three. Now, the first thing can be that it helps us to protect our ego. So, of course, it's going to help us boost our self-esteem when we feel that we are right in a situation, that we have the right belief system, that we have the right opinions, or we made the right judgments. So our brain is going to be always searching for ways to make that be true because it helps us to feel smart and to feel confident. So again, it's just a way of really helping us to preserve that ego. Now, the second thing can be that it helps us to save face. So this can be especially true if we've been very vocal or outspoken about our opinion, and it looks like that opinion or that judgment is really coming into question. So if we are feeling like it is being tarnished in some way, it's going to lead us to try to seek out information in any way possible to avoid embarrassment. So again, we are trying to save face by gathering information as much as we can to really prove to other people that our opinion is indeed correct. And the third reason can be that it helps us to minimize cognitive dissonance, which is a very interesting phenomenon that happens when our beliefs are not in alignment with our behavior. So in other words, our actions don't match how we think about something. And so when that happens, it causes us to have a lot of psychological distress. It causes us to feel that mentally there is some disharmony, and we are going to really look to resolve that cognitive dissonance. So a great example of this is smokers that are completely aware of the health risks but still choose to smoke. This relates to confirmation bias because in order to really relieve that cognitive dissonance, we are going to either have to change our behavior or our beliefs. So when we have that confirmation bias, it's going to help us to really only pay attention to information that supports our behavior, because most people would rather change their beliefs than have to change their behavior. So maybe we are going to find articles, let's say if we're still talking about smoking, that really suggest that maybe it's not that bad for you, or if you don't smoke that much, it is not as harmful for your health. But we are going to be able to kind of in a biased way find information that helps us feel a little less guilty about our behavior. We have to understand, however, that most of the time we are not doing this consciously. This is something that we are not even aware is happening. So we just have to be careful about it, and we have to be aware, or we can see how it really is influencing us. And we can see how in any of these situations, what's really happening is that we are trying to avoid any evidence that is contradictory to our belief systems and our thoughts, because it makes us feel much more comfortable when we can really hold on to what we already know and believe. So now that we have a better understanding of how we can perceive confirmation bias as being beneficial to us, even though ultimately it's very destructive in our life, we also have to have an awareness of when we are most likely to encounter it. So I wanted to talk about the top 3 scenarios where we are most likely to be influenced by this bias. Now, the first thing can be a biased search for information, and I think absolutely all of us are guilty of this. And this can come down to what news channel that we choose to watch, or what magazines or television shows that we choose to watch or read. And it can also come down to who we surround ourselves with. So we are much more likely to talk to people that have the same exact opinion and viewpoint that we do. We can also have a biased search for information in how we phrase our question. This is something that a lot of people are not aware of. So if we have an opinion about something already, it is likely that the way we are going to search for information is going to reflect that opinion. So for example, let's say that we are vegan and we want to run a search about being vegan. We may type in something like top reasons why being a vegan is beneficial, or why is being vegan healthy, as opposed to running a more general search of pros and cons of being vegan. So you can see that since the way we phrased the question was biased in and of itself, the results that we are going to get are also biased. And unfortunately, this is how so many of us look for information. Let's say we have a favorable view of a candidate. We are going to phrase the questions that we are searching for in a favorable way. And if we have a negative view of a candidate, we are probably going to phrase that question in a negative way. So we are going to be served exactly what we are looking for. And that's something that we really have to be aware of as well, and something that we are all guilty of, especially on those hot button issues, politics and religion. We are going to phrase these questions in a way that we will get the exact results that we are looking for, because most of the time we're not really looking to change our opinion. We are just looking for that further support. And that's where, again, the confirmation bias comes into play. The second thing can be biased interpretation, and this is something that, again, we are all guilty of. So this is really where, when we are taking in information, we are going to understand it in a way that, again, supports our belief system and our viewpoints. So in some cases, we will even really scour through what we are looking for and really just extract the things that we feel really build up our case and really just disregard anything that could potentially be in conflict. And finally, we have biased memory recall. And this is where we are able to be selective with how we choose to remember an event or a situation or any information that we take in. So in a way, we're really putting a spin on it by only remembering the details that serve us. In fact, some theories even suggest that we do not even store pieces of information that are contradictory to our viewpoint. So it's definitely something to be aware of, because oftentimes our memories are a little bit crafted. We've had a hand in shaping how we choose to remember past events and information as a whole. Keep in mind, however, as easy as it can be to really point the finger at other people or to notice confirmation bias in others, that we are absolutely guilty of this too. There is not one person that is completely bias free. And that's why it's so important that we really have this awareness and this understanding, because otherwise it is really influencing our thoughts, opinions, and judgments in potentially a very negative way. We have to remember that it is our goal to become intellectually mature. And we can't do that when we are just holding on to our beliefs and opinions when we are presented with credible evidence to the contrary. We want to be able to, think about things critically and to adapt our thoughts and opinions about matters once we have new information that comes in. And remember also that when we are considering new viewpoints and we are taking new information in, it doesn't mean that we are necessarily going to change our opinion. That could be the case, but the most important thing is that we are open to the fact that maybe we have not made a correct judgment. And when that is the case, then we can make alterations when necessary. Keep in mind also that we are in a new age. We are in an age where even our computer can figure out what our opinions and judgments and belief systems probably are, and they are also going to serve us intentionally biased information that suits our belief systems. So we are really getting this from all angles, and again, that's why we really just have to be vigilant about taking in balanced information and always thinking about it critically before we make our judgments about things. So as always, I hope this video was interesting and helpful to you today. If it was, please like it, share it with someone else who may need to hear the same message today, and also do become a subscriber if you are not one already. We definitely want you to stay connected, and I thank you so much for spending time with me today. Have an absolutely amazing day.